Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the Three Topics Gamer, and I have another one of my worst to best tier list ranking videos to share with you guys today. And this is hopefully going to be the first of many tier list worst to best ranking videos that I hope to do in 2021. And since I've already done tier list rankings for the likes of Batman and Spider-Man, who are some of my favorite comic book heroes of all time, I thought it would only be fair that if we tackled Superman, who has had a very polarizing set of live action appearances. Now, before I enter this ranking, I would just like to let you guys know that this is focusing only on the theatrical films or just live action versions of Superman that I have seen. I will not be doing the animated series. That one could actually be its own tier list if people would want to see that. And as far as it stands right now, that there are currently 8 live action Superman films that actually, as far as I know, are released. I believe there may be 2 of them. They're like really old that I haven't seen. So I'll just be focusing on the primary 8 that I have seen. So, without wasting any more time, before I get into my ranking, if you happen to enjoy this video by the end and would like to see more content from me, or have any just requests for future ranking videos, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and press the subscribe button, because every subscription really does help me and count. And let's jump right into this ranking. As you can see, you have the 8 of them here. We have Superman and the Mole Men, Superman 1, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, Quest for Peace, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. Now, as you can see, I have them ranked from loved, liked, okay, not good, and hate. So let's start with the worst of the bunch, which probably shouldn't surprise most of you. So starting off with the first 2 hatreds. Easy. BVS and Justice League. I really do hate these films for multiple different reasons, but heck, we've already covered BVS, so let's just do a quick recap. My problem with BVS is that they told the wrong type of story. Number one, it added a certain character that I personally hate. They screwed up Doomsday, and they just messed up the whole Death of Superman storyline. This was only the 2nd film, and you decide to go for that storyline. You mess up Lex Luthor. You just, so many problems, and even the fight itself. The whole premise of why this movie is built was actually boring. I never thought I would see this, but seeing a fight between Batman and Superman was actually boring. And it only lasted like 4 minutes long, and it was just kind of like, what are they doing? It was it was just not a good experience. Now, when I first saw it, I thought it might have been okay, but as the years have gone on, I have just come to hate this for more and more and more as the years have gone by. So that's why it is there. Now, going into Justice League, it has a whole laundry list of problems. Number one, a certain character's in the film, but heck, that's unavoidable, so that kind of almost guarantees that that movie was going to be a C. Number 2, Superman is hardly in the film at all. I think he has like 10 or 15 minutes of screen time. 1, they didn't use Darkseid, which everyone thought they were going to use, but they didn't use, and heck, I know they're going to use the Snyder Cut version, but I'm not even going to attempt to see that film. They also, like, I hate going back to Batman because I love Batman so much, but they managed to make Batman completely irrelevant in a Justice League film, which I did not even think was possible. In any version of the Justice League, whether it's been in comic books, animated films, or video games, they always manage to prove why Batman belongs in the Justice League. And this is the first variation of this Justice League that I've ever seen where I'm openly questioning, why is Batman here? He is not only completely irrelevant, but you turn him into a complete joke. I mean, people like to bash on Batman and Robin, but that version of Batman was more credible than this version. And that is crazy because Ben Affleck was a great Batman, just in 2 really awful films, and we never got the chance to see him in his own standalone film, which we all wanted to see. But heck, at this point, I'm not sure if we're ever going to get that. So let's get the hate ones out of the way. Those 2 on the bottom of the list, despise them. I've only seen them like once or twice and never want to watch them ever again. And no, I will not be watching the Snyder Cut because I highly doubt there's any changes that he could have done to fix that piece of shit of a film. So now that's out of the way, let's go into what isn't good. Now, what isn't good, for sure, is Superman 4, A Quest for Peace. At this point, the whole lineup of Christopher Reeve's Superman films had pretty much run its course. I mean, at this point, they were just getting, I'm not going to say awful, but after Superman 3, it was clear that there was seriously a major decline in quality. And by Quest for Peace, it was just a ridiculous storyline. You have Superman wanting to get rid of nuclear weapons, and then at some point he, like, throws them and creates this nuclear man who has the voice of just Lex Luthor, and it's just a complete mess and a complete joke. I could tell probably the people who were making this film just weren't too into it, and obviously the public didn't really enjoy this film. So yeah, I mean, is there any redeeming factor in it? I don't know. Maybe there's like one solid fight, but like even for those standards back then, it didn't look very good. So yeah, I mean, it just like Batman and Robin. I mean, heck, no, I'll take it back. Even Batman and Robin is a better film than that, because at least that makes for a great drinking game. But this is just one of those films that it's kind of like the sad decline of an iconic hero in the Christopher Reeves version of Superman. And this is just really where it is at its absolute worst, which is why it is still, to this day, not a very good movie. As we go into the okay tier, this is going to surprise some people, but I'm actually going to put Superman and the Mole Man. Now, just the title alone sounds ridiculous, but when you take into effect that what time this movie came out, which I believe was like 1951, so believe it or not, that was before even my dad was born, which is crazy to think about that. And you understand the context and just kind of the quality of storytelling for that particular Superman that they had, it actually isn't all that bad. I mean, when you look at even older versions of Superman, even going back to like the Silver Age, you see Superman do and fight a lot of really dumb things, but you have to understand that that is what was considered prime Superman at that time. And even though when you compare it to this time, it seems like really outdated, I respect that they really did put a lot of work into wanting to at least tell a solid and coherent story for that time. And that's enough for me to at least give it credit and not bash it too much, even though it is certainly like way before my time and really shouldn't work for me. But I respect what it did for its time. This was prime Superman back then, and I can respect that, which is why I think it's okay for me. Now, another movie that I think is okay is Superman 3. Now, Superman 3 has a lot of problems, but there's enough about it that I actually think I can sit down and watch it. I didn't really necessarily enjoy the whole primary focus on Richard Pryor's character because he's such a great iconic comedic actor, and this movie was definitely tipping more into the comedy department, and that's something I don't really think was really needed in Superman. I mean, don't get me wrong, the first two Superman movies had little funny moments, but they were just kind of quick and over with. This one, I think there was just a little bit too much focus, and the ridiculous level was just starting to get to an all-time high. It wasn't quite Superman 4 levels of ridiculousness, but we were getting there. And this was definitely the beginning of the decline of Superman, at least for me. But there is enough in this film, in multiple different departments, that I would say you could actually sit down and find some things about it that are actually good. And I do stand by that film, which is why I think it is just okay for me. Now, as we go into the liked tier, two films in that department. Number one, I am actually going to put Superman Returns. A lot of people don't like Superman Returns, and I can understand why. But for what it was trying to do in terms of get Superman perhaps back on track after the last two Christopher Reeves films, I think it did an okay job. I thought Brandon Routh was a great Superman. My only complaint about him is he seemed at that time to be a bit too young to play as an older version of the Christopher Reeves Superman. I think it would have worked better if he had been like a younger version, which I don't think could have worked because they already went over the Superman origins in Superman 1. And when Superman is actually doing things, it is really cool. I openly will confess now that the opening airplane rescue scene is without question the greatest Superman rescue scene I have ever seen in out of all the Superman live action films. There's no question. But past that point, he really is just not doing all that much. There are a few cool scenes that are spread throughout, but I think it's kind of bogged down with all the drama that's going on. I mean, you have Kevin Spacey, who is playing an incredible Lex Luthor. I would have liked to have seen more of him in like more Superman films with Brandon Routh. I thought the whole Kryptonite Island thing at the end was a little bit dragged out. But I will say this, when Superman is on screen doing what he does, it is at its all-time best. It's just a lot of nothing going on. But it's if this movie had been more successful, I think this would have been a solid first film. What could have been like at least a trilogy of Brandon Routh Superman films, which I would have absolutely supported. But sadly, we didn't get that, and therefore, it is a little bit disappointing that we only got one of these type of films. But I think that for what it was trying to do, it did a good job. And when Superman is really doing his stuff, it is absolutely spectacular, which is why I really do like Superman Returns. But another film that I think is obviously better, and that has to go with the first Superman. Now, if I remember, the whole tagline or on the poster was, "You will believe a man can fly." I believe that's what it is. And this movie, even to this day, still stands up. Christopher Reeves is still considered probably the most iconic version of Superman, and that very much holds up. And this film is what started it. This could really be considered the first truly great superhero film ever, and I do believe with that statement. I thought that even for its time, it managed to do a lot of things film-wise that was still very impressive for its time. I thought that Christopher Reeves is an incredible Superman. Many still consider him the best. I myself include. I believe he's definitely the best Superman we still have ever had. And I think that the story that they were trying to tell was a very, very good one. Now, we have to acknowledge the kind of ridiculousness of what he does at the end with the whole spinning around the world and, you know, rewinding time thing. That rubs some people the wrong way, but for the first Superman film, I think it works, which is why I still enjoy that film to this day. Now, as we go into the two Superman films that I absolutely do love, there are only two of them, and the first one on the list I have to go with, surprisingly, is Man of Steel. Really love Man of Steel, which is why it is so shocking how you can go from a movie that I absolutely love to putting him in two films I absolutely hate. But I think that Superman, or Man of Steel I should say, did a great job at creating a much more modern version of Superman. There was a lot of things about his character development that I thought were absolutely fantastic. I thought the battle scenes was really, really great. I thought the scenes that we saw on Krypton were amazing. I thought Rosa Cole played a great Jor-El. I thought, you know, Zod was a little bit over the top, but heck, Zod is an over the top type of character. The action scenes in this movie were absolutely fantastic. I thought the fight scene between Superman and Zod was phenomenal. And I actually was not upset about the controversial ending of Superman killing Zod. Now, there are people that stand on two different sides of whether or not Superman should kill and he doesn't kill. But I think in the context of that situation and at that point in his life, I think that Superman actually killing Zod was actually very effective and it worked for me. I thought the rest of the cast of characters around him was actually very perfectly cast. I think they all did their jobs very, very well. I thought the development of Superman was just amazing. I think Henry Cavill is a great Superman. It's just a shame that we still have not had a chance to see him in another standalone film. I really think that we should have at least had 2 or 3 films of just a standalone Superman film before we start mixing him in with the Justice League. I think that would have been great. I think that if we had had those films, then his death would have had much more greater impact than it would be in BVS. And overall, it is still a great Superman film. It's just crazy that it was the beginning of the DC Cinematic Universe, and right now it's kind of in a weird place right now. But now that I've gotten that one out of the way, without a doubt, the best Superman film of all time, and my personal favorite, has to be Superman 2. Now, there are 2 different versions of it on which one people prefer, whether it's the regular theatrical version or the Donner cut. I can watch both versions. Obviously, I would prefer the Donner cut more likely because it's much more expanded and the story's pacing is a little bit different. But I think both versions actually do work. This film is amazing. This easily could be, I think for me, if I really think about it, it's easily still a top 10 greatest superhero comic book film of all time. I think that the threat of Zod and his cronies is still still holds up. I think that the use of Lex Luthor teaming up with Zod, I thought was a great team up of villains. I think Superman being willing to give up his powers is very, very emotional because that is something that Superman would normally do, but he understands. This is the Superman where he kind of has that, I call it like Spider-Man 2 syndrome moment, where he wants to live a normal life, but he has responsibilities, and when he doesn't have his powers, he sees the consequences of it, so he has to choose between being Superman and wanting to be as Clark Kent. And not a lot of comic book movies can do that with prime characters, but this one handled it amazingly. I would even say handled it better than Spider-Man 2, and that is why it still remains my all-time favorite Superman film of all time. So, that about does it for my overall tier ranking from worst to best, or worst, best to worst of the live-action Superman films. And I would like to know, now that you guys know my personal ranking of the live-action versions of Superman, how would you rank these films? Share your rankings with me and everyone else in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.